when I was kind of coming up a little bit, and I was like, oh, like I'm gonna call it like PH art. Like that sounds cool. Like a Patrick Hunter. I never really liked my name Patrick.
Oh my God.
It works now, like Patrick Hunter, like it sounds cooler than I probably am, but like I wasn't even thinking of fart, but I was like,
I was gonna say,
I
please
could
tell
call
me.
it PH art, like, and then this one guy on Facebook was just like, are you serious? Like, is this a joke? I was like, what? Oh my gosh. So luckily that did not take off.
Welcome to Graphic Content, the podcast where we talk all things who, why, and what the fuck. Today, my guest is a graphic designer, a painter, a workshop facilitator. He's collaborated with the Chicago Blackhawks, BMO Bank, Staples, Holt Renfrew, West Elm, and the 2022 Winter Olympics, Patrick Hunter.
It's me.
It's me. How's it going?
It's going really good. You're catching me a day before my vacation starts, so it's I'm just sort of like floating around. I had a job kind of like not cancel, but sort of like they're like, we don't need it till June, so I'm like, even better. I have like nothing to do. I have to pack, but I like to leave it till the last minute and then stress hard before I go to bed.
I'm not one of those people that's like family members of mine. They'll be like, "Oh, we're packing on Sunday." I'm like, "When are you leaving?" They're like, "Next Sunday." I'm like, "What are you doing?" Then you're gonna live with a bag
Yeah.
in the middle of your room for a week. I would never be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to Tofino, so I looked at the weather. It looks rainy. I don't have a raincoat, so I'll have to get that when I get there. And then I don't know. This time of year is strange because it's like hot and then real cold, and just sick of wearing pants, man.
Recently, I went away for a couple weeks, and it was that immediate, like, the sun is touching my body. I'm like able to wear shorts again. I don't have to walk out with a coat and have boots and all this other shit. And I felt 100% more like myself. And then coming back, of course, it's like rainy and cold, and it's May, and I'm like, we're really doing this? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
How have you been? Like, the last time we touched base was 5 years ago, and a whole lot has been going on since then.
I've been doing good. Yeah, I've kind of leveled up quite a bit since the last time we spoke.
Just a little.
I didn't even have a driver's license. Like I've since got that and bought land. I bought a car, like because I have a license now. And yeah, I've just been kind of driving everywhere. I have a dog. I guess sometimes you in your early 30s or late 20s, like you just kind of like, I'm gonna do all this stuff when I get a partner, like. And then that wasn't happening, so I was like, I could just buy land. Like you can just do that, and then also like I don't need someone's input to buy a car. I already know which one I want. And then dogs are a little tricky because it's a lot of work, but
girl,
we've been managing pretty well. She's a good girl.
It's always that thing of like when someone gets a dog and then suddenly there's like just plastering it all over their socials. I was like, okay, so Patrick has a puppy. Patrick bought land. Patrick has a car. I've been like seeing everything through social, so it's nice to see that you're feeling good about it all, obviously.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's just so cool, like to be a self-employed person, and then I just thought it was really okay. I thought it was really hard. It was going to be hard to buy a car. It's like the easiest thing. Like I'm like,
of course they make it easy.
Cosign? Like, do you need to check anything? And they're like, good to go. I'm like, all right then. I guess I bought a car.
They just want to make sure your banking is good and that you can pay it off. That's the only thing they give a shit about.
yeah, I guess so. But yeah, life's great. Kind of thinking, what's the next kind of move I want to do? But
because you're like, oh, you've been leveling up in your life from what you've given me the examples. So as far as you're like on the work side, so I've been seeing what you've been doing, but since we last spoke, like it really has kicked up quite a bit for you.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to describe it is like one thing leads to another, and people hear more and more about the stuff that you're up to, and Instagram sliding into the DMs, that whole thing, that's a real thing. And it's been pretty cool. Like I keep it pretty real on the soch. That's appealing, I guess, to some people. And
Mhm.
I've just always known this since I was like in high school. Like, just be nice to everyone you know. You never know who's going to be like on the other side of the table trying to give you an opportunity,
Mhm.
and don't be a dick. So I tried trying really hard to live up to that kind of standard, and
Mhm.
it's paid off. I think this is just sounding like a big pitch. I'm a pleasure to work with, and I get the job done.
That's how I describe myself to people. I'm like, I'm great.
Yeah, very well rounded, practically perfect.
So you talked about the DMs, like who has slid into your DMs on Instagram?
Well, the Chicago Blackhawks was a pretty interesting one to get because it was like it's in the section of your inbox where it's like requests, I guess.
Mm.
And you can go through there, and some of them don't sound real, and this one definitely didn't. It was like, do you want to work with a national sports team? And I was like, probably a scam, but let's just see where this goes. And then lo and behold, it was like a real thing. And that was probably the biggest one. I mean, Science North, also kind of,
That's pretty big.
it's pretty cool.
That's
I like
major.
when I like going in there sometimes and just seeing who's sliding in there. And that's that. Just, I mean, I guess there's probably more.
Listen, that's more than me. All I can say is recently I was looking through my the request folder on your
Right.
like in the DMs, and I have like a list of, and it's the same message, multiple from different accounts, obviously bots, and it's
Yeah.
asking like, do you want to be featured as one of a top female entrepreneur? I'm like, wrong audience.
Yeah.
That is not me.
I got that one too. I got that one too.
No, but that's amazing. I think that that's so great that your work is like has such a broad reach. Now, have you found, going back to what you said about putting out kindness, for you, like, because social media is a bit like we're posting something that is to an extent curated. You and I are not the type that to put out like crying videos of like, I'm devastated about something, I'm going to be sad. But do you find that putting yourself out there, because you put yourself out there way more than I do, what's your relationship to it? Because I find that for me with this new venture of the podcast, I'm
Mm.
like, I'm just gonna like put my fears at the door and just do it. But
Yeah.
you've been doing it way longer than I have.
I got Instagram like my boyfriend at the time was like, "Hey, we should get this app called Instagram." And it was like 2011 or something, and I like taking photos and stuff, and back then it was just like filters and whatever, but it's been cool to have like almost like a out loud diary of your life. And it's funny that you're like, I just don't put out a lot of like crying videos. Like, done it. For sure.
Okay, so you have done it.
Like in a long time ago. I think because it has been so long, like you kind of become a little bit more comfortable
For
with the
sure.
level of what you're putting out there or not. And I think, at the end of the day, authenticity really does sort of permeate through the screen. So, you could really tell if it's like real and not real. So,
100.
and, now that it's not like I have a pretty big audience. For me, they've kind of been along with me on the journey from the beginning. And if not from the beginning, like it's like in authentic ways, they're kind of coming to my page and sort of like, I don't know. I'm like, it's a lot of dog pictures, but there's some art, and then I like to cook as well. It's fun for me. I'm alone a
Mhm.
lot, so the connection to the audience is sort of like it's what keeps me, I guess, not feeling so lonely, because I usually spend a lot of time like up north in the wilderness. So it feels like, yeah, I'm not alone.
Are you up there right now?
I am in Batchewana Bay. It's north of Sault Ste. Marie, about 40 minutes. It's my last day here. I can't wait to kind of be. I go through phases where I'm like, this is awesome. I love this. And then, after 2 weeks, you're like, what's for dinner? I'm like, I don't know what's for dinner.
Are you there? So
Sick of
you're
it.
there by yourself, right?
Yeah. I mean, my dog's here, but
Yeah. And so, like, do you find that having so much solo time, does it help like dictate anything when it comes to the art, the work that you're doing? Or you said you're back and forth from Toronto, you go to Red Lake, like, so when you're spending so much time alone, like, how do you find that influences your work?
like if you're not used to it, it could be really difficult. I think during the pandemic, I was seeing a lot of people just like not being able to handle it. And I was like, this is great. Like everyone's at home, everyone's very reachable.
Yeah.
I had a good time during the pandemic because again, I like to cook. I like to be alone anyway. So that part was easy peasy. I think you can struggle sometimes with like trying to like, okay, the project's on the table, but you know, there's a soup that could be made. Or, you know,
Hmm.
I'm like, let me just kind of get this going so that I can, you know, I'm not cooking everything later. You know, I can put things off quite easily. I think sometimes or be distracted, but you know,
Girl, story of my
and
life.
yeah, like I don't know, it comes in waves, I guess. Like I get shit done, but it's not always like a joyous experience. Sometimes it's just like, why did I leave this so late? Like
Hmm.
now I have like all night to work on this because it's like due tomorrow. But I just sort of realized like I'm just like that, and that's how I operate.
Are you
I can't.
setting these deadlines?
No, I don't think so. But I think you know what, like there's kind of a difference sometimes with some creatives where it's like I've just learned that like the ideas will come when they need to, and
Hmm.
trying to kind of force them out you never really works that well. So, and usually like your first kind of for me anyway, my first idea is usually kind of the best one, and I just permeate some ideas out around that. But and then there's like the trusting that that idea is actually good is kind of the other part of the equation. Like just like, hey, I got myself this far. Like it's fine if it only took 5 minutes to like come up with the concept.
Listen, like you and I've been doing what we're doing for a lot. Like we're not, when we met, we were much younger. So I'm like,
Yeah.
we're now mid to late 30s for me anyway. And I think about, I don't really have that same doubt in my mind about what I'm doing. Like I'm like, okay, I've
Mm,
done this. Like it's like rinse and repeat, but just through a different lines every client, specifically branding. And I'm
yeah.
like, girl, you know what you're doing. You've been doing this for 15 years. It's been a
Yeah.
hot minute. So trust yourself. And I'm the same as you, where I will say 85% of the time, the first thing that I think of to do is what the client will go for, or what like gets picked up and produced.
Yeah.
And then, because I'm like, well, I can't just give like one or two things. I got to give more. And I still
Right.
have that thing in my head. I'll do all this other stuff, like other concepts or whatever, and then I'll present it. And they always go with the one that I did first. And I'm like, I'm wasting my time. Like, this is such a
Yeah.
waste of time.
Yeah, and where you could be doing other things, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think creative confidence is something that I've like am learning still to kind of just trust that I've got what it takes to get something over the finish line, or even if it's just for myself. Like it's been awesome to have been so poor back in the day and had to hustle so hard, and then now I'm kind of like really reaping the rewards of like I produced like hundreds of paintings back in the day that I now sell prints of and license images out from, but like I could never work that hard now. It was like in the middle of the night, just like, oh, I can't sleep, might as well just work on this. Now I'm like, nothing is happening until after coffee, nothing is happening past 8 o'clock, you know what I mean? So I'm so grateful for like that time in the past to now have some actual like free time in my brain and in my schedule to like work on things that I actually really want to do and I'm interested in. And I think a question that pops up quite a bit for me on the painting side of stuff is like, what's your favorite painting that you've done? And it's the question is, you know, unanswerable sometimes, but like it's usually like the last piece that I've done because I've been able to use all of my skills and all of my knowledge in that last piece and try some things out that I haven't done before. Um, and I almost don't like to take commissions on from people or companies anymore, painting wise, only because like it's so much more fun just to like paint without any sort of expectation of it.
Just do you.
You know, yeah, yeah. When there's like, you know, a committee of people that are like, well, why doesn't it look like this? Or, you know, there's built-in expectations when you're commissioned to do some work for people sometimes or companies.
Because you have your style is very stamped. It's
Mm,
very Patrick. Like even I'm wearing our
yeah,
our collaboration
yeah.
from 2020. What year was that? 2022, 21. The
I can't
ASMR.
remember. Probably like not that long ago, 3 years ago.
It was about 3 years ago, but anyway, like working with brands. Sorry, like how do you find that process different from just creating for yourself? Because I know that it's like so different to me as a third party. I look at your work, and to me I could see it no matter what it's on. I'm like, that's Patrick. but working with them, closely to create that finished product, like obviously that's a different process.
I've had to kind of trick myself into like not getting scared of or intimidated by staples or the name. It can be intimidating, but my experience in working with places like that is just like there's always a great team of people that are like really interested in telling stories, I guess,
Hmm.
and using their companies, like whatever they're good at. Say it's Giant Tiger, like we want to use our stores in our name to kind of tell the stories of Phyllis Webstat, who's a kind of originator of Orange Shirt Day, which kind of brings a lot of awareness to residential school survivors and stuff. Like Rogers as well, like they're using all their tools in their toolbox to put it out there. And I feel like when I can align my work with what they're up to, then that's when like real good work happens. But in the beginning there was some fear, but after a few of those projects, you're just like, oh, there's just like some real cool people that are trying to like put on a really fun dance. Or like I've had to like equate it to high school and kind of like being in the lunchroom, and like everyone's like wants to have a good time, and everyone wants to put on a good dance per se, but it's just kind of like who they collaborate with, and it can be intimidating, but I've just had to trick myself into thinking that it's more fun than anything. And yeah, when it works, and there's a huge impact, that always feels good.
I feel the same as you, where they're just people. The
Yeah,
the brands are run by people. At the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? Like I always say this, I want to work with good people who want to do cool shit.
yeah,
That's like the baseline of how I want to operate moving forward. You've worked with big brands like me, even me working with Amazon. I'm like, me being this like small town kid working for a big company, like the people being like, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, but it's the same process that I would work with, a mom and pop shop. But at the end of the day, like, girl, it's about the work, right? That's my focus.
yeah. And it's 10 years since I've started this company. It's still just me, but like it's
Yeah.
been 10 years, and like in the beginning, of course, you say yes to a lot of projects that maybe are out of your wheelhouse, and you find out real quick that like, oh, this type of design is not for me. And then you just find projects, or projects find you, and you I feel like those ones are meant to be. Even if you miss the opportunity the first time, like there's obviously such a thing as like second and third chances, right? I have to have a pretty like optimistic worldview, because being self-employed could be very scary for some people, but it's like it's the only life I've really known
Yeah.
since like I've started in 2014. Even before then, I was always kind of like working a little bit in design, but like never fully confident enough to quit whatever job I was doing at the time to like go all in. But so glad I did.
What was the thing that you were like, you know what, fuck this, like I need to get into the next stage of my life because I can't do this anymore?
I mean, I was working as a line cook in Toronto, and I just sort of
Hmm.
like lost the plot of like why I was moving there and living there in the first place. But it was such a hustle to like make it work there. I
Yeah.
mean, at the time it felt like that, like paying $700 in rent, and you're living with like three other people and making like $12 an hour, right? So
Girl.
it was, and then you want to go out, and then everything there is like expensive. So that was probably a pivotal moment where I was like, I did not move here for this. Like, and I don't deserve this either. So that was sort of the reason why I was like, okay, if I didn't have to show up to this job, I would have more time to like do the thing that I actually really want to do. And I honestly didn't think that it was going to be painting for me. Like I had gone to school for graphic design, and then moved to the city, to Toronto, thinking that I would just do that, and like it was going to be like a Devil Wears Prada moment. Like I'd be working in the fashion industry,
Yeah.
and there'd be lots of coffee getting, and like in and out of cabs, wearing nice clothes. Cut to reality, and it's like really hard to find a job in your field. So you
Hmm.
kind of just make ends meet, and you get kind of caught up in just the living of it all when you're in your early 20s and in Toronto. And it was such a good time, and I'm grateful that those times of triumph, or times of like shitty jobs, I'm
Struggle.
grateful. Yeah, struggle for sure. I'm grateful for them, because it just shows you that like, okay, this is definitely not for you. move on to something that you actually really want to do. And
Yeah.
luckily social media was coming out at the time where I could kind of like talk to a broader audience, post pictures of
Hmm.
not just like my weekend, but like work that I was going to do, and engage. Which painting would you want? What sketch would you want turned into a painting and stuff like that? And that's been the plot ever since. It's just kind of like engagement, and then also just living off painting and designing.
Honestly, though, you're living the dream in so many ways because you've built a life for yourself where you have used your talent, your artistic creative vision to build a brand, has infiltrated so many different industries. And to me, that's like so many people, not everybody, but a lot of people in creative fields, that's like a vision that people want to attain, and you're doing it. And it's very exciting to see, especially from knowing you now, what, 7, 8 years we've known each other from those humble
Yeah.
beginnings.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this earlier, and I was like, man, like you've really monetized like your personality in a way. And then also like my background as like an Ojibwe person, my background as a gay person as well, like that's kind of infused into
Hmm.
the work. And it wasn't part of the plan in the beginning, but it just goes to show you that like, the more that you're authentic, the more that you're, and it sounds annoying, but like the more that you're, you know, real and yourself. For me, I've just been rewarded for that, like over and over again. But there's obviously some strategy to that too. Like I joined some chambers of commerce, like the Canadian Gay and Lesbian Chamber of
Yeah, of
Commerce,
course.
the Canadian Council for Indigenous Business as well. Like you just learn things as you kind of go along, and what feels good and is probably the right path.
And you say strategy, but to me, it's more like it just makes sense to expand. You're like, okay, I've hit a plateau. I've done this. Now what's next? I want to grow. I want to reach more people. So of course, it makes sense to be part of a broader organization. And I think we've interacted through the CGLCC, the
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce in Toronto, because to me, I was like, I went to the mentorship program. I knew that I wanted to. I'm like, I need to level up. Like I've definitely fell
Mhm.
more on the creative side. The business side was always like daunting to me because,
Yeah.
I don't have that innate thing in me. But it was very good. I learned so much from it. It got me to where I am today, and I was able to meet so many people. Dan Snow, for one, who has some of your work in his house.
I actually, it happened one time, and I was like walking down the street in Toronto, and there's not really a lot to do. There is a lot to do there, but what I'm saying is that like when you're walking on the street, like there's nothing really, you can't
Yeah,
help yourself but look into people's houses. And I like design a lot, and I'd like to see like how they kind of decorate a little bit. But then I saw one of my paintings in someone's house, or a print of mine, and I was like, yes, like that's so crazy
that's amazing.
to see that. And I was like, walked with a little pep in my step after that.
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding? If I walked by someone's house and I saw that, I'd be like, this is like a sign to me that
Yeah.
I, of all people, saw it. I'm on the right path. I'm in alignment. I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Going as long as we have been going as well, like you're always looking for signs that you're on the right path. And I totally, again, like as like an optimist, and having to just to be that way, it's because like those little signs really kind of propel you forward. And you might be feeling a little glum prior to seeing that you're in this stranger's house, your work is in there, but right after that you're like, okay, I am doing something right, this is awesome, I'm gonna
Yeah.
march back home and get, I don't know, get creating on something. I don't even know them. And it just meant a lot. And I was like, thank you. But even early on, like I had an art show in Sault Ste. Marie, and, sold a good number of the pieces that were in the show. They were like $50, $100, maybe
Hmm.
the most expensive one was like 200 or something. But like this one lady bought like almost all of them. Mind you, it was like, maybe she spent, $550 or whatever, which is still, a good amount of money. But like
In the early days, that's a lot.
back in the day, I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit. And like, I've since got to run into her again, like during one of my paint classes and stuff. And I was like, I just want to like let you know that like that meant a lot. And then it kind of really surged me forward and gave me a lot of creative confidence to keep it moving.
Especially because we're constantly going. You always have something coming at you with work, right? Whether it's calls, projects, etc. If we don't actually take a little minute, and you can totally pass by them and ignore it and not even realize what's going on. But if you to actually like sit and you're like, oh, these small things that are said are come across your desk, whatever. This is okay. So I'm going to speak for myself, but I take it as like signs from. I'm not like a religious person, but I definitely have like a spiritual side. So I would
Yeah.
take it as like the universe is being like, girl, you got this. You're keep going, keep pushing, and you have to take in those little things. Because if I don't, then what are we doing? What is the point of all this? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just to make money? Like it's not. Once I took that out, and I'm like, stop focusing on the monetary. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's actually flowing to me much more easily than when I was like, I'm not making anything.
Yeah, being intentional and also kind to yourself. Like, it sounds silly and trite, but it's so true. Like, it's so exactly, if you're constantly in a state of like sadness and like, I deserve this shitty job as a line cook. I used to feel that way. I was like, not really like, just backstory context. I was going through, I had gone through a breakup, and I was just like, I just couldn't handle the grief of it. And I just kind of felt like I deserved all this bad stuff, like this shitty job, like not being able to like afford rent, and that sort of mentality really snowballs and snowballs until, yeah, until I kind of like gave my mind something else to focus on, which was like really hustling to like start a business, because I had no safety net of like, oh, I can just pick up a shift and make an extra $80 tonight. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, being just having like some positivity about what you're up to in your job or your life really goes a long way to kind of creating more of that flow that you're talking about, of things coming straight to you.
So on that note about the breakup thing, so my last relationship, I think actually was like right around the time I met you. I was living out in Alberta,
Mm-hmm.
and I came back. I came back to Ontario, and I had started Geographic in 2017. So it was when I was living there,
Yeah.
or like when I was living out west, and I didn't really do much with it. Like it was very, like a couple small projects here. Like I was trying to do clothing, apparel, and it really didn't like do anything.
Yeah.
When I got back, I was like, okay, I moved back. First of all, I had to move back home, which was, I had my tail between my legs. I'm like, I'm 28 years old. Like, what the am I doing? I had no
Yeah.
money. I was just freshly out of a relationship. It was like bare bones. I have nothing. And I had been working agency for 4 years. Like everything on paper was basically like, your career is set, and then I just left it everything
Yeah.
behind and then had
Yeah.
nothing. And that was my motivation. I was like, I'm gonna do something. I'm like, I'm gonna hit the ground running. I got back and I had no idea what I was doing. Like setting up a website, never did it. I was just figuring it out as I go. But I was like, I'm gonna use this motivation because I was like, I can't be in this state where I feel like everything that I've worked for has now been for nothing. Even though
Mm-hmm.
big picture, I'm like, oh, it all fed into, I learned so much and then, feeds into what I was able to build. But like that year when I got back, I was like, every networking opportunity, I just did everything I
Yeah, you
could
were
because
on
I'm
it.
like, I don't want to be nothing. You know what I mean? I need to
Yeah.
build something for myself. And now almost 10 years later, I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, what a clean slate to work from,
Yes.
and it's probably hard to think about that at the time when you were in it,
Oh,
but
I felt
like,
like
what a
such a
clean
loser.
slate, just to like be able to like start at ground zero and build yourself up. And again, like, it takes time. I
Yeah.
do a lot of like classes with youth and stuff like that, and a lot of them are kind of like, they can't wait. Like, they don't want to do the part where there's a lot of work involved. They want the success
Yeah.
right away. And it's like, well, that's cool to want that, but like, you still got to do the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard for people to hear, but like, having that kind of clean slate that you had. And then also, like, I think sometimes what really is helpful is like a sick tagline or a sick name, like Geographic. Like, that really worked. Like, that's, not only part of your name, but like it's what you're up to as well. For
Hmm.
a little, and this, I was kind of giggling when you not at you, but I was just like thinking about when I was kind of coming up a little bit, and I was like, oh, like, I'm gonna call it like PH art. Like, that sounds cool. Like a Patrick Hunter. I never really liked my name Patrick.
Oh my God.
It works now, like Patrick Hunter. Like, it sounds cooler than I probably am, but like, I wasn't even thinking of fart, but I was
I
like,
was gonna say,
I'm
please
gonna
tell
call
me.
it PH art. Like, and then this one guy on Facebook was just like, are you serious? Like, is this a joke? And I was like, what? Oh my gosh. So luckily that did not take off at all. But
It could have.
I should try and find the post. And then you know what? Who's looking up fart videos now on YouTube is me, and wanting to go to specifically to New York to go see, or hopefully see this guy that just farts all over Central Park.
Wait. Okay, wait. Hold on. What do you mean? You can't
Um,
just say that and then we move on.
yeah, okay. Segue. I like, I mean, it's funny. Like it's not a real fart or anything like that, but what is it? Humor Bagel on YouTube. Like he just has
Okay.
this hilarious channel where he just kind of like walks around Central Park and like just lets them rip. And it's like reactionary. It's very like just for laughs,
Yes.
like gags.
Yes.
And I guess it's sort of like a little bit of nostalgia for me for that, because I loved that. And like, you didn't even need like language. It was just funny because it was. But anyway, so I didn't go with PH art. I just let it go, and I was I just like, Patrick Hunter is fine enough. That's a good enough name.
Yeah, and I mean it makes sense. Originally, I was like, "Oh, Gio Petrucci designs." I'm like, I wanted something that was catchy. Your
Mm,
name actually, like, it's short. My name is long. Like, I can't do that. It would be so
right.
insane.
Thank my mom. She's got name game.
How is your mom? I always see you posting with her. Well, not always, but I see so many posts.
I know. Yeah. There's definitely people that call me out, and they're like, "Do you have a dad?" Like, where there's a lack of representation of your father on your Instagram. I don't think of taking pictures with him, but she's good. Yeah, she's awesome. She's lives in Red Lake still. Gosh, I think it's like 7 or 8 CN Towers underground. She drives a big 30-ton truck under there, and was like, very inspirational to me growing up. I would just see her kind of do any job. She was like a president of like a not-for-profit for a while, cashier. Now she like drives a big heavy equipment operator. Just all these different roles and stuff. And I was like, cool. So like, you don't have to stick to one thing. You can be good at various things. And getting to see your parent like shine and dress up, and that was instrumental in me sort of like, oh, okay, it doesn't have, like, you don't have to stick to one thing, even though I kind of have, but like the option is there to like do whatever you want, really.
Do you ever see yourself moving into a different direction?
Yeah. I actually had this thought yesterday. I was like cooking breakfast and I was like, I fucking love cooking. Doesn't matter what it is. Like, I like setting things up for later. And I was like, oh, maybe like if the art thing doesn't work out, you could like have a bed and breakfast, but like actual one where you would be there and people could come in, and I would like cook for like, max 4 people. The options there, but then at the same time, like I love like I really love shoveling, and I like doing yard work.
See, this is where you lose me. The first
That's
part, I love that, not the yard work.
yeah. At the end of the day, the what I would like people to take away from this is like, I can really do anything, and the confidence in just like whatever is gonna come my way, I'm confident that I can do it and do it
Mhm.
well. And like, I didn't want to be a line cook back in the day, but I was awesome at it. And I really thought there was gonna be like, oh, don't quit, like we'll pay you more. I was getting like $13 an hour, and there wasn't that. They're like, oh, no, like we'll just find someone else. And it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
disposable, got it. So I was like,
Oh yeah.
it was just like, I'm grateful that I did it, but and more people, everyone should work in the service industry a little bit, at
A
least for a little
hundred
while.
percent. 100%. I agree with you. I've worked as a bartender. I've worked as a server. I've worked as, okay, this was a 1 day thing, but I worked as a salesperson, like going door to door.
Oh,
And this was in Toronto, and I got this job, and I was like, okay, it pays, at the time it was like $25 an hour. I think the minimum wage at the time was like
okay.
$8,
Yeah.
$7, or something like that, around there. Big meeting in the morning, and this like training about, we're gonna go door to door, and we're gonna sell this part for furnaces. And you just go to people's houses, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I
Yeah.
don't. And I did it for 1 day. They dropped us off in like Vaughan. Okay, I live downtown. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know where I am. I'm having to go door to door to these people's houses, talking about something I know nothing about. And then I just never showed up. I was like, I can't do this. I don't care. I'm not doing it.
Not not meant for you.
Yeah, but no, I do want to go back to, because I love to cook. Like I really
Mm,
love it. You're cooking for yourself the majority of the time, I'm assuming.
yeah.
What's your like go to? Like, and I know this is such a cheese question, but like genuinely, because like I love
No.
talking food.
I am a very good, like, let's roast a bunch of stuff or let's grill a bunch of vegetables, and I'm good at soups. What else do I
You've
like to
talked
do?
about it a couple times today.
Yeah. I now that the business is what it is and it is functioning, and there's time for me to kind of
Yeah.
focus on some other things. And I think some kind of fun YouTube cooking thing with me would be maybe one of the next ventures. I think the YouTube is sort of like the next step maybe for
Yeah.
myself. Like I'm already doing a lot of the camera work. It's just my phone, thing like it could be, if I just did a few extra steps, it would be something that could be a little bit more longer form and more, just telling actual stories instead of like snippets of it. What I know for sure is like whatever you're kind of interested in is what you should be doing and what will kind of like translate to
Yes.
income coming in as well. I've had like some pretty good sales over the years of like mugs. I kind of picked a winner. It was like it's a camper style mug. It's somewhere in this house, but I've sold thousands of them. And then when you look good in a t-shirt and you really love that t-shirt, that kind of translates to the audience as well. And they're like, I want to wear a shirt like that, or like, yeah, I've been
I'm
noticing
trying to.
it looks good. Um, that's gonna read as authentic to the audience, and it's gonna resonate with them. So nothing's really like off the table for like, unless I don't like it, then I
Well,
wouldn't
yeah, of
do it.
course, because then people would know. Like, like I said, we're not spring chickens anymore. So for me, I'm like, I don't want to do what I don't want to do. I don't want to talk to people
Yeah,
I don't want to talk to. I don't want to be involved in projects or things that I don't really give a shit about. Like, why are we?
yeah,
I don't want to suffer fools. So I'm gonna go for things that bring me joy, make me happy. I'm able to sit down with people and reconnect, and do it in a format where I'm authentically doing that. It's very me. Like I
yeah,
can't say for a second that it doesn't make sense for me. Do you know what I mean? Or like that I'm putting out
yeah,
something that I'm not, like I can't back.
yeah. I'm trying to think if there was something that I did that I quickly retracted. I mean, I've just learned some silly lessons like don't
Yeah.
try and sell sweaters in the summer, or like don't don't push tank tops and t-shirts like in the wintertime.
Uh-huh.
That kind of stuff makes sense, and it took it you know it takes some time to kind of, it takes a few boo-boos like that in order to like
Yeah.
learn a very lesson that should be pretty easy to understand.
Right now we're filming, it's May 6th. So this will come out probably I think the first week of July. So Pride season will
Oh
be
shit.
over. But I know I've batched a ton because I'm trying to like get ahead of it.
Very
But
cool.
yeah, yeah. But so my question is like, because it's summer, right? Like when this
Mhm.
comes out, it'll be full blown summer. Have you been working on any projects that people can go check out? Like I know you always do a lot of Pride collaborations every year.
I've recently did some hoarding. It's called like it's like the walls that go up around like a construction site.
Okay.
It's called hoarding. I don't know why, but anyway.
I was like, your house looks very clean. I don't think I believe what you're saying.
Not a hoarder for sure. No, but Queen and Church. There's some work that people can check out down there, and it's cool. Like the company that I was working with, a construction site can look pretty gross and boring. So they've been really good about working with artists to kind of beautify and tell stories via their work on those sites and stuff. So I think, I've seen a few of my friends kind of get projects like that. I'm like, "Ugh, I want one like that." And then I got one, and it's been cool so far. So it's been up for like maybe like a month, and there's some people that kind of tag me. They're like, "Oh, look what I found!" And luckily, because there's a big picture of my face, just like on 8 feet of the boards, and I'm just like, please don't put any dicks on my face, please, like no, like just no, nothing, just and nothing so far has happened. But obviously, I kind of had to let that go early, even when I was like coming up. I was like, "Are you sure you want to put my face on there? Like, it's just gonna
Mhm.
be graffitied like crazy." But anyway, that's up there in Toronto. And what else do I have on the go? Pride is over. I've already marched in the parade with Staples. I'm in gift shops a lot. People can just go into any gift shop and find my work there.
Do you list everything on your website?
Not all no, not all the stores that I'm in, only because like I licensed a lot of the work out to a company called Canadian Art Prints, and they just run that whole kind of gift shop part of the economy. Like there's expos, there's like all these, it's so cool being in design because there's like worlds that you're unaware of until like you kind of step foot into an
Work in
expo and be like,
them?
holy shit, like of course there is a gift shop expo, like there's lots of gift shops everywhere and they need product, and there's a few companies that do it really well, like merchandisers and stuff. So I license some work out to them, and they kind of have a network of like stores that buy my work from them and then put it into their store. So I don't really know where it all goes, but I love being like tagged in them, and then like people discovering that, like, hey Patrick, did you know that your work is in like Tofino? Did you know that it's like in the CN Tower gift shop? But I'm like, did not know. Very cool. That's awesome. Again, it's like one of those things that I worked super duper hard in my early 20s, and without knowing like how it was going to pay me back. Like I wasn't paid a lot for those paintings back in the day. It was like hundreds of dollars maybe. And now making prints of those work and kind of realizing that like not everyone has the money for an original piece, so let's kind of make some product that people can buy because
Yeah.
they love your work, they want to engage with it too, but making it more accessible has really been the meal ticket over the last decade, I would say. And yeah, finding great partners to work with as well, to kind of take your business to another level has really been like such a relief, just to like be able to breathe a little bit. Because when you are just starting as a baby entrepreneur, like you just all you have is like grit and like belief and youth, and maybe naivety is on your side. You're like, this is gonna work out, and like you have to believe that, and I did, and it has worked out.
You have to just almost blindly believe that what you are going towards is going to happen, because otherwise, if you
Hmm.
don't, if you start poking holes in your, then you're never going to do it. Like you're never ever going to achieve that thing if you keep thinking, well, what about this and what about that?
I'm sure you can relate to like projects as well. Like you can't, not everyone is perfect. There's things that you always could have like added
No.
or done better. But I think just letting go of like, this is what I created. This is not good enough, but like this, I can stand behind this. It has merit and stuff. So I think you got to move. Then you got to keep it moving. You got to move on to the next thing, and not always
100%.
kind of just like dwell on what you could have done. Hmm.
Do you do any direct e-com like yourself, or do you always work with like a third party where they will produce and manufacture?
I mean, I have my own shop, patrickhunter.ca, just to plug it. And I sell I prints of my own work, obviously, and then a couple things. Like I have like the core things that I really like, and have the capacity to ship and have produced as well. Like working with these other, I just work with the one pretty much. Canadian Art Prints. They just have more knowledge of like where to source things from. They've sold things in the past that I've not sold, so it's cool to see like, oh, I have towels now, and like, oh, there's also fridge magnets and stuff like that. Like some things I do, like mugs and greeting cards and stuff like that, things that I know that will kind of resonate and sell with the audience. But like I don't have a lot of extra cash lying around just to be like, let's see if like Christmas tree skirts work, like you know
That is amazing. Of all the things, I love that. That visual is amazing.
yeah, it's cool to, like, and things I would not even think of, that they put the work onto. Like a real thing is like diamond art, where people are like picking up little like bejewels and then like stick, it's almost like a paint by numbers, but they use like little bejewels and kind of like make art out of that. I have a couple of those out there in the world, so it's cool to see like there's a whole team of people that work at Canadian Art Prints that kind of like researches what would look cool and how to get it out there.
What we've been talking about is you partner with a lot of brands, you work with a lot of different organizations, you have your
Yeah.
work on so many different products. Do you ever stop and think to yourself like the impact that you're making being a visible queer person, like out in the world, like doing your thing with such a like massive platform?
I'm cognizant of it for sure. I mean, I'm out there on the ground as well, like doing a lot of schools and speaking to students and doing paint classes with them. So I just kind of try to think about it like, who would try to be the person I would have needed when I was like a young, queer, Indigenous person in growing up in rural Ontario. I would need that person to be approachable and nice and like kind of with it enough, like they get the joke. Not taking themselves too seriously. So I understand that there's people kind of watching, and I mean, I'm not up to anything crazy or anything, but so there's
Nothing
not really like
incriminating.
no, no. So I just kind of I'm aware that there's some eyes on me sometimes, um, and again, just I always kind of leave a classroom just being like, if anyone has like any questions, feel free like to DM me or email me or whatever, because I know it's kind of hard to ask questions in bigger audiences. No one wants to feel dumb or anything like that. So um, just kind of being a person that I would have needed when I was a young guy. Operating from that place, I think it feels good to me as well.
You host like a lot of painting workshops online where you have like tons of people present.
Yeah.
Do you ever have people after the fact who are just like messaging you being like, oh my God, like love you, or any like questions or anything like crazy you had in your DMs other than, big projects that you were working on?
Yeah, I only get big projects uh, sliding into my DMs. I hope that it's sort of like it's visible, but like I am a gay person, so I think what's kind of sometimes heartbreaking is like women who have crushes on me. Like I try to make it real known that like, oh, like I'm gay, like say that over and over again, so like there's no confusion.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that would be scary for me.
Painting canvases and crushing hearts.
Yeah. um, Everything's open anyway, so like people have questions. It's usually like in the comments or something, or that's sort of where some of the not great interactions come through. But I
Oh,
mostly just don't take those seriously.
yeah, you can't honestly. Like, and if anything, they're helping your algorithm as shit as it is, like to see hate and or people being dumb.
Yeah, I like my algorithm right now on Instagram. Like, it's just like shirtless bear dudes and then Taylor Swift mixed in there.
Oh my God, literally, like if I was to show you, my algorithm is like art, drag, guys, and like the Spice Girls.
Yeah, I mean that's gay culture right there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's no agenda. It's just that's the agenda. Is just
We're nearing the end of the pod, and I've been asking all of my guests the same question. What would you say is the most on-brand thing that you've ever done?
the most on brand thing is my optimism. Like it's almost to a fault to sometimes like there's like pessimists that are just like that's how it's beautiful outside. They're like it's too hot though. It's just like
Oh, can't relate.
um and I'm just like I hope it's gonna be hot again tomorrow. So I think that I've just sort of trained myself to always think that way. Maybe this isn't even part of the question, but like I think I've really worked hard at like not only just seeing like the best in people or situations and stuff like that, but like really trying to challenge my sense of like what's possible. Like in the beginning, I just had no idea that any of the things that I've accomplished were ever even gonna happen, not really trying to like move goalposts per se, but just trying to like get rid of the barriers of like what's possible or what's possible for me to achieve. I've been trying to think of I just saw it briefly on TikTok. But they was talking about how these like there's this concept of like these rats or mice or something were like all put into like a container, like a bubble, a kind of thing was put over top of them, and they could kind of see, it was clear so they could see out. And then they kind of like moved the bubble, but they kind of kept a ring around these rats, and they would stay within the ring, and then they kind of eventually moved the line away, the ring of it, and they would still kind of stay in it until they realized that there was no ring at all, and they were like, oh, we can just do whatever we want now.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you can kind of realize that like there is no ring around your life, you can achieve whatever you really set out to do. It's not easy, but it's worth it, you know? So the most authentic thing I've ever done is kind of just like really trying to like imagine that there is no ring. I'm going to just exist and, you know, be good, be a good boy, and hope that things kind of like come back to me in a way that is, you know, fulfilling, but then also, you know, I got to eat at the end of the day. So, you know, you want those things to kind of be fruitful. So,
I am 100% with you on that. I have been the person who has been the opposite, where I've been like, I've only focused on limitations. I would work hard, but it was always like the mental, my brain would tell me like, you can't achieve it's going to be too hard for you to do this or whatever. And I am with you 100% on it, where I'm like, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to
mm,
just go for it. And in my mind, I'm imagining the outcomes, not in too much detail, but also in detail, thinking, I don't know what the path is going to be, but I'm just going to go for it
yeah,
and just throw something at the wall and something will stick. And it's been like you said, it's been very fruitful. I'm like excited that it's the mind, it's your brain.
yeah.
You just have to tell yourself like, I'm doing this.
You know, it becomes easier in the more that you kind of do that and trust yourself. And I think one of the fears that I have sometimes is just like, when is this going to end? Like, when am I? Is there going to be a point where I can't do this, or what do I do next? Like, what's the next step after that? And I've just sort of realized that, like, hey, man, you've got yourself here. You're going to get yourself over there and through the next thing and the next thing. Like, the proof is in the pudding here. Like, the track record is real. Like, you've done all these things. Don't worry. Like,
Yeah.
you got yourself here, and you'll get yourself out if there's something to get out of. You know what I mean? And I think maybe sometimes it's more, it's difficult for sure, but it sometimes might seem like it's more difficult for like family members to see like you're on this path that they have never been down before. I come from farmers. My uncle is like a paramedic. My other uncle works for like Hydro One. My parents work in gold mines. Very kind of like safe. I mean, they're kind of dangerous, but what I mean is like the paycheck is always going to be there.
Yes.
Reliable jobs, whereas like the career that I've chosen, it's almost seems like to my some of my family members are just like, it's not real, or like, oh, I was just in Kenora working. They're like, oh, but like you don't work, like you just kind of do your art. And it's just like,
Make this work.
so sometimes disheartening to hear that kind of stuff, but it's so a sign of their kind of like where they live, and then like it's rural Manitoba, but then also like my grandmother is, you know, she wants that reliability of, you know, paychecks and you know, reliable jobs. I'm a newer generation that's just like, we can do anything. And I
Mhm.
have, and I just sort of have to like let it go sometimes, that like you're not going to please even your family sometimes, or they're not always going to get it, but the people that do get it, you know, let's go.
Let's be real. All you have to do is go like this. Look at what I've built. If
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not proof enough, then this is just me as an outsider observing. But that the thing that's your like the disheartening part, that's just the little version of us that's like trying to make mommy and daddy proud.
yeah,
And you know what I mean? Like it really is. And then I think about it, I'm like, I've had family members say to me, "You're gonna draw pictures?" You know, like
yeah,
that. Is that what your life's gonna be? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
yeah.
And here I am. You know.
There's been signs all along for me. Like I won my first, like the first time I felt like, oh, maybe I have, you know, something that's different and creative in me. Like I won a coloring contest from Burger King in Brandon, Manitoba,
I
at
love
like,
it.
I can't remember what year it was, but Hunchback of Notre Dame was just coming out, and they had coloring pages, and I won. And I was like, yeah, like that should have been a sign right away. I just thought about that a couple days ago because I love Burger King.
If anybody listening wants to connect with you or find you online, where can they do that?
Patrick Hunter _art on Instagram. That's probably the funnest place to see what I'm up to, what I'm cooking, where I'm taking my dog for a walk or a hike, and what kind of art I'm doing that day. So that's kind of like, I let go of Twitter. I let go of like, I'm not really on Facebook all that much, but I just like, Instagram feels safe and cozy.
If anybody's looking to reach out to me, you can find me at geographic.com if you want to talk design, branding. The podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I would love a review, leave a comment. I'm also on YouTube under Geographic and Graphic Content, and I look forward to connecting with you on there. Bye.
Bye, y'all.